Shabbat Shalom, family. The name is Emeka. With that being said, I hope you guys are having a good day. Hope you guys are doing very well. I missed you guys. I know I've taken a hiatus, kind of like reflect and kind of get my mental state, up to date. But with that being said, this brings me to the 11th session of my Sabbath teaching. And this is a very important class because this has been on the back of my mind for the past month and a half now. And all glory to Yahawah Bahashem, YAHAWASHI Bahashem, Riyah HaKadosh for giving me the spirit in the Paleo Hebrew Lashon Kadosh and allowing me to be able to edify the 12 tribes of Israel scattered throughout the four corners of planet Earth as it pertains to the elect through the sanctification of our big brother YAHAWASHI. And I would like to start off with my opening statement in Sirach, also known as Ecclesiasticus, chapter 47, verse 12 to 24. And it reads, David prepared the way well for his son, a wise man, to rule after him. There was no war while Solomon was king. God gave him peace on all his borders so that he could build for the Lord a temple which would stand forever. How wise you were, Solomon, when you were young. Your knowledge was like the Nile and flood. Your influence reached over all the world. Your proverbs and riddles were known everywhere. You were famous everywhere, and people loved you for bringing peace. Nations around the world held you in admiration for your songs, proverbs, parables, and witty sayings. You gathered silver and gold as if it were tin or lead, all in the name of the Lord God of YASHARALLA. But your lust for women was your downfall. This is very imperative because Solomon had over 1,000 wives, and just being king and having peace, he had a lot of time on his hands, and this ultimately led to his downfall because, just like Adam, right, listened to his wife Eve, and that caused them to be kicked out from the garden, So, yeah, Solomon should have learned from the elders and the ancients, but he was too carnal-minded when it came to women. So this leads me to the second part, the introduction of two kingdoms, Rehoboam, which is Judah, and Jeroboam, which is Israel. Jeroboam is Solomon's first son from one of his wives, and Jeroboam is the second son. This is Israel and the kingdom of Judah split into two. So reading on, same chapter, it reads, different verse. It says, you stained your reputation and that of your descendants. They suffer punishment for that foolishness of yours, which caused them so much grief. It divided the nation, and a rival kingdom arose in northern Israel. But the Lord will always be merciful and keep all his promises. He will never destroy the descendants of David, whom he chose and who loved him. So for Israel's sake, he allowed David's family to survive. Solomon followed his ancestors in death and left one of his sons to rule after him. This was Rehoboam, right? This is the southern kingdom, Judah, a man of little intelligence and great foolishness, whose policies caused a rebellion. There was also an unspeakable Jeroboam, who led northern kingdom in sinful ways. His people became so sinful that they were exiled from their land. They tried all kinds of wickedness until the Lord took vengeance on them. So this is the kind of domino effect of Solomon going off and worshiping the deities of all his wives, and that caused a split and confusion in the kingdom, and henceforth YAHAWASHI says a kingdom that is divided, I believe in Mark and Matthew, will fall. So this was the demise of Israel, okay? And this brings me to the main topic of today, which is the northern kingdom revealed in 2024. As this academic notation reveals, the kingdom of Israel, led from bondage by Moses, the Hebrews left Egypt around 1300 BCE to settle in the promised land. The uplands of Canaan, Philistines, Phoenicians, and other sea people already occupied the coastal area. The Hebrews formed a loose coalition of 12 tribes ruled by judges. By 1025 BCE, fear of warlike Philistines caused the Hebrews to unite into the kingdom of Israel. They chose Saul as their first king. In 1000 BCE, David followed Saul and made Jerusalem the capital of his kingdom. David's son Solomon succeeded him in 960 BC, and the kingdom thrived. Massive building projects were completed, most famously the magnificent Temple of Solomon. With Solomon's death in 925 BCE, a golden era ended. His sons split into two feuding countries, so they were having civil war, right? In the Book of Kings, and I believe in Chronicles as well. Israel in the north and Judah in the south, a division that will prove fatal, like I alluded earlier, right? So this brings us to the next sub point, which is what really happened to the 10 northern kingdom in the Holy Bible. So the evidence can be found in Hosea chapter 11, verse 1 to 12 KJV. And it reads, when Israel was a child, then I loved him and called my son out of Egypt. as they called them. So they went from them. They sacrificed unto Balaam, right? This is a pagan deity, and burned incense to graven images. I thought Ephraim also to go. This is the northern kingdom, right? Taking them by their arms, but they knew not that I healed them. I drew them with cords of man, with bands of love, and I was to them as they that take off the yoke on their jaws, and I laid meat onto them. So this is going back to the Exodus moment, right? What he did for the children of Israel when he took them from Egypt. He shall not return into the land of Egypt, but the Assyrian shall be his king, because they refused to return. So this is a future prophecy. It was going to happen to the children of Israel, predominantly northern kingdom, when they disobeyed God. He was going to send an Assyrian king and his gang to subjugate them. And the sword shall abide on his cities, and shall consume his branches and devour them, because of their own counsel. And my people are bent to backsliding from me. So this is talking about the disobedience of Israel. Though they called them to the Most High, none at all would exalt him. How shall I give thee up, Ephraim? Talking to the northern kingdom, right? He's addressing them. How shall I deliver thee, Israel? How shall I make thee as Adam? And how shall I set thee as Zeboim? My heart is turned with me. My repentance are kindled together. I will not execute fierceness of my anger. I will not return to destroy Ephraim, for I am Yahweh and not a man, the Holy One in the midst of thee, and I will not enter into the city. They shall walk after the Lord. He shall roar like a lion. When he shall roar, the children shall tremble from the west. Future prophecy. They shall tremble as birds out of Egypt, and as doves out of the land of Assyria. Future prophecy. And I will place them in their house, said the Lord. Ephraim compasses me about with lies, and the house of Israel with deceit. But Judah yet ruled with Yahweh, and is faithful with the saints. So this goes into how the eldest son Jeroboam disobeyed God, but the youngest one always tries to keep the value of the family, and they lean towards their parents' instructions versus like the rebellious oldest one. But just like children like to mimic each other, the youngest one eventually follows along and adopts some of the characteristics of the eldest child. And that's what happened eventually with Judah, as we're going to emphasize in the further progression of this video. 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 1 to 23. I would like to pair this up, and you're going to see why. In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hosea, we just talked about him earlier, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, but not as the king of Israel that were before him. Against him came up Salmanassar, king of Assyria, like we just read earlier, right? The prophecy of the Assyrians coming to conquer Israel. And Hosea became his servant and gave him presents. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hosea, for he had sent messengers to So, king of Egypt, and brought no presents to the king of Assyria, as he had done year by year. Therefore the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison. Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land, and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years. In the 9th year of Hosea, king of Assyria took Samaria, and carried Israel away into Syria, and placed them in Hala, and in the harbor by the river of Gozan, and in the cities of Medes. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord Yahweh their God, which had brought them out of the land of Egypt from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and had feared other gods, and walked in the statutes of the heathen. Okay, the children of Israel were imitating these people that they were scattered amongst, that God told them not to do, whom the Lord cast out from before the children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel, which they had made. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Lord Yahweh their God. And they built them high places in all the cities, from the tower of the watchmen to the fenced city. And they set them up images and graves in every high hill, and under every green tree. And there they burnt incense in all high places, as did the heathen, whom the Lord carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke the Lord Yahweh to anger. For they served idols, wherefore the Lord had said unto them, You shall not do this thing. Yet the Lord testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets and all by the seers, saying, Turn ye from your evil way and keep my commandments and my statutes according to all the law which I commanded your fathers and which I sent to you by my servants the prophets. Notwithstanding, they would not hear, but hardened their necks like the necks of their fathers. They did not believe in the Lord Yahweh and rejected his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers and his testimonies which he had testified against them, and they followed vanity and became vain, okay, which just means of nothing, and went after the heathen that were round about them. So Israel was concerned or curious about the other people rather than their father Yahweh, which is in heaven, that gave them everything, whom the Lord had charged them that they should not do like them. And they had left all the commandments of the Lord their God and made the molten images, even 2 claves, and made a grove. Right, groves are like where witches worship and stuff, and worship all the host of heaven and serve Baal. Right, that's another word for, like, a demon, Lucifer, Satan. And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire and use divination and enchantments. That's just witchcraft, right? Which is a commandment, right, that Yahweh had verbatim told the children of Israel not to do. Okay, and these people were doing it in the time of Hosea, right? King of the northern kingdom, and sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord Yahweh, to provoke him to anger. Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel and removed them out of his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Judah only, just like alluding earlier, right? Judah stayed with the Lord, but Israel, the oldest son, this is dealing with the first 10 tribes, right, from Ephraim all the way down. Also, Judah kept not the commandment of the Lord their God, but walked in the statutes of Israel, which they made, and the Lord rejected all the seed of Israel. So you see, Judah then followed Israel, right, and afflicted them and delivered them into the hands of spoilers until he had cast them out of his sight. For he rent Israel from the house of David, and they made Jeroboam the son of Nebat king. And Nebat drave Israel from following the Lord and made them sin, a great sin. For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam, which he did. They departed not from them until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight, as he had said by all his servants the prophets. So Israel carried away out of their own land into Syria until this day. Okay, wonderful. So now this brings me to the sub point of my next topic, which is, what did the kingdom of Assyria resemble? So down here I have the Assyrian template, and what they did in the ancient time was they basically combine animal, right, phenotypical presence and human, right, characteristics, and merge them together to create this metamorphosis, which you have right here in the first image, right? You have, I believe this is called the king bull, half human, half animal, right, which represented like strength and various aspects of their witchcraft in the Assyrian kingdom. And next we have this image right here, right, half bird, half man, all right, which represented another deity they had and they worshiped, just like the ancient Egyptians. There's nothing new under the earth, right? All these kingdoms bopped up from each other, right? The same with, Greece, Roman, Persian, Medes. They all did the same thing. Next, we have a silver image of that king bull statue, and these, I believe, are still up in this present day, right, in museums and Smithsonian, vice versa. This is a colorful image of what that represented, which you can see. And next we have the Israelite art. I'm going to go more in detail about this image, but as it pertains to Israelite art, these are the people who were called Incas, Mayans, and Aztecs, and this will be revealed in the further discussion of my video. So as you can see here, similar metamorphosis, similar illustration, demonstration, right? The lady has some type of fox on her head, and beautiful Israelite, by the way, but you can just tell that they learned this from the kingdom that they were dispersed and subjugated under, right? This is another man, has some type of coyote cat figure on his head, which symbolizes, like I said, right, strength and, different types of witchcraft that the God of YASHARALLA commanded the northern kingdom not to partake. But due to their disobedience and, their rebellious state, they obviously were imitating the heathens round about and copied their ways and learned their ways. Next is another Mayan image in Berlin. So as you can see, this is a human face right in the middle, and surrounded her is all these like creatures. They look like demons, honestly, but you can see like faces of birds, frogs, and other creatures that you can kind of guess on your own. And this is exactly what Yahweh commanded them not to do, but still, being stubborn children, did otherwise. And we're going to see the consequences of this in the further progression of my video. The benchmark architecture that I want to correlate with you guys will be from Nineveh, right? The Neo-Assyrian capital, right? This is what their, construction looked like. As you can see, right? It looked like pyramids and temples. Also, these people were learning from ancient kingdoms that come prior to them, namely Egypt, right? The Pyramid of Giza. As you can see right here is a temple right in the middle of this square platform where I believe they worship and sacrifice their gods, maybe. Next we have the same picture, but in more, I guess, like coloration or, more detail, I guess. Yep, more temples, more pyramids, maze-like structure. And I would like to transition this to the Israelite architecture on the Western Hemisphere prior to colonialism. This is the first one, the Aztecs, right? We can see where they kind of got this concept of their, architecture and geometrical ideas from, right? Assyria, being that they were captive there before coming over here, as I will allude in the progression of my video. The pyramids they built, right, that are still up for display in our modern world. More temples. And next we transition to the Inca kingdom. As you can see, right, maze-like structure, just like the Syrians had in their ancient world. There's nothing new under the sun, right? The children of Israel learned the ways of the heathens and brought it over here. And more pyramids the Incas built for maybe pagan worship as well, right? That offended God, obviously, but this is what they were doing on their spare time. As you can see, more of that metamorphosis over here. Learned from Assyrian captivity. Next, we have the Mayan structure. You see, more pyramids. And you should be asking yourself right now, how can it be that all these so-called Incas, Mayans, and Aztecs all are building the same thing? Because they're the same damn people, okay? Just common sense will tell you that, right? They just divided themselves in tribes. But these are the children of, Jeroboam. So you can see, right, more pyramids that are still on display to this very day. And this brings me to the next topic, which is, where did the northern kingdom go today? Okay, and we can find this in 2nd Esdras chapter 13, verse 40 to 53, and it reads, "Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land at the time of Hosea the king, whom Solomon answered, the king of Assyria, led away captive and carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves that they will leave the multitude of the heathens, the other nations, Gentile nations around them, and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, that they might there keep their statues which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into the Euphrates by the narrow place of the river. For the Most High, which is Yahweh, then showed signs for them and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. And the same region is called Ashereth, okay? Right? Remember that word Ashereth because it's going to be brought up in the further discussion. Then dwelt they there until the later time. So this is a future prophecy. And now when they shall begin to come, the highest shall stay the springs of the stream again, that they might go through. Therefore sawest thou the multitude with peace. But those that be left behind of thy people are they that are found within my borders. Now when he destroyed the multitude of the nations, so this is going to a future prophecy that Ezra saw, right? The war that YAHAWASHI, when he comes back, he's going to have. Right, and it says, the multitude of the nations that were gathered together, He shall defend his people that remain, and then shall he show them great wonders. Then said I, O Lord, that bearest rule, show me this. Wherefore have I seen the man coming up from the midst of the sea. That sea is identifying the clouds, right, that are blue in the sky. And he said unto me, like as thou canst neither seek out nor the things that are in the deep of the sea. So this is actually talking about the ocean. He's trying to make a connection with this parable. Even so can no man upon earth see my son or those that be with him. So this is talking about the reinforcements, the army that YAHAWASHI is coming with. Think about archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Uriel, and Raphael, okay? All of them coming for war to invade this place. But in the daytime, this is the interpretation of the dream which thou sawest, and whereby thou only art here lightened. Okay, so now I'm transitioning into some academic evidence that shows what that place that the northern kingdom went to, where no man dwelleth, called Asreth. So according to mainstream scholars, Asreth is America, in colloquial terminology, right? So these is the truth that these so-called, one percenters, these Illuminati people, they're hiding this information. But Daniel prophesied in the last days the truth was going to come out. So here we have the first source from Jewish Encyclopedia. It says Asreth by Morris and Kaufman. And it reads, the name of the land beyond the great river, far away from the habitations of men, in which the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell, observing the laws of Moses until the time of restoration, meaning when YAHAWASHI cracks the sky and comes to invade. According to Ezra, Columbus identified America with this land. This is in their Jewish encyclopedia. Y'all should have scraped this, but, y'all can't do anything against the truth, but only for the truth. So now I transition into this documentation by that author that they cited this source from. Her name is, I don't know, maybe Guy or I don't know, whoever. Dr. M.K. Sterling, right? And it reads, Christopher Columbus and the participation of the Jews in Spanish and Portuguese discovery. So what I want you guys to gravitate to is page 15. And it reads, this is talking about Columbus. He was also very fond of reading the Bible in the 4th book of Ezra, which was probably written by a Jew who lived outside of Palestine. According to his assertion, the incentive that impelled him to plan his discoveries was not the love of science, but his interpretation of the prophecies of Isaiah. So the conquistadors were reading the book of Ezra. That's how they knew people were living over here. Common sense will tell you that. In Portugal, Columbus earnestly conceived the idea of making maritime discovery by the way of west. He wished to find a new ocean route to the region of Cati and Cipango, which were reputed to be rich in gold and spices. That's a hint. Remember that, gold and spices, okay? Because that's going to be further revealed in the progression of this video. So now I would like to bring you to this novel by a guy named James Adair. And he wrote this book called The History of the American Indians. And here it says, we can just start in the highlighted area, and it reads, for 2 or 3 years after 1765, Adair was in America trading with the Chickasaw and the Choctaw tribes out of Mobile, Alabama. Late in 1768, he was in New York trying unsuccessfully to find a publisher for his book, History of American Indians, in which he tried to prove his theory that the American Indian people were the lost tribes of Israel. This book was published in London in 1775, right? Next, we're going to go here where it says, I just want to just bring this out because this guy was not trying to help the children of Israel. He was actually a demon Edomite, according to the Bible. It says James Adair was also an enslaver. And who did he enslave? Just jump down to the next highlighted portion. This person enslaved and owned other people, many black and African people, their descendants, and some others were enslaved in the United States until the 13th Amendment abolished slavery in 1865. So this just shows you that after, exploiting the indigenous people of this land, He then went after whenever the England, another sect of Edom, brought Judah over here, right? The southern kingdom, the so-called Negroes, the black people. He also exploited them and enslaved them as well. Okay, so just showing you that he didn't have no mercy, and this is somebody who was wicked. Okay, that's my whole point of bringing that reference out. So now transition into more academic proof. Okay, this is by Joseph Smith, the Mormon guy. This is his letter, and look what he said in his letter. The Book of Mormon is a record of the forefathers of Western tribes of Indians. By it, we learn that our Western tribes of Indians are descended from that Joseph that was sold into Egypt. Bingo. What was the name of Joseph's children? He had two, Ephraim and Manasseh. Ephraim is the head of the northern kingdom, which is Jeroboam, okay? And it reads further, Western North American location. In summary, these three revelatory accounts, when considered together, provide impressive supporting evidence for a Western North American location for Father Leah's descendants. I don't subscribe to this nonsense of Father Leah and all their antics and distorted way that they, exegete or, break the Bible down. I don't believe in this, but this is very important because it's connecting who these people are and their true identity of this land prior to colonialism. Leah's descendants, such as the area occupied by the Utah Aztecans, people extended from the Shoshone on the north in Montana to the Aztecs of Mexico, and Pipil in Central America. And now I'm going to move on to this document where it reads, the highlighted part. I just want you guys to get the frame of what I'm trying to allude. It says, and he also taught them concerning the records which were engraven on the templates of brass. My sons, I would that ye should remember that were it not for these plates which contain these records and these commandments, we must have suffered in ignorance, even at the present time, not knowing the mysteries of God. Commandments are going back to the one that was revealed to the children of Israel in Mount Sinai in Exodus chapter 20. Here he's referencing that the indigenous people had these engraved in their plates, okay? And it reads right here, I'm going to start from the second paragraph. For it were possible that our father Leah could have remembered all these things to have taught them to his children, except it were for the help of these plates. For he had been taught the language of the Egyptians, therefore he could read the engravings and teach them to his children, that thereby they could teach them to their children, and so fulfill the commandments of God even down to this present time. So this is indicating that these plates were brought, right? And they were not, locally found here. Okay, so the next transition is this one, and it reveals the Utah Aztecans in Baja California. We are currently involved in a comprehensive study of the geography of the Book of Mormon that affirms Leah's family came from the land of Jerusalem in 600 BC to the peninsula of Baja California, and there established their culture upon the land for some 1,000 years. The family's first settlement was near the southern end of the peninsula, but over the course of their tenure on the land, they migrated to northern areas of the peninsula in several stages before being swept off the land after a devastating war. Where does that war come from? The invaders, okay? And we're going to gravitate and expose this truth throughout my video. All of our work is published on our website, okay? So that's what this author is trying to convey to the authors. We're going to go into this right here. It says, along the eastern shores of Central America, Columbus made contact with numerous indigenous groups speaking various languages, including Utah Aztecan, the language of Father Leah's descendants. That's how it happened, okay? On the right, you have the children of Israel. They try to depict them as savages. But over here on the far left, you have the conquistadors. And back here, what do we have? Pagan cross, okay? Witchcraft that they try to bring. Fantastic. So this brings me to the published books concerning Jeroboam. As alluded here, it says The Origins of the American Indians by Lee E. Hulotson. I read here, 1 Suarez D. P. Lautra was the earliest identified Spaniards to endorse the lost tribes of Israel theory, and even his acceptance was qualified. He based his opinion in the authority of chapter, I think it says 13 of the 4th book of Ezra. This passages to which Suarez D. Pelautra referred read. So like we alluded earlier, I'm going to just recycle this real quick. It says, these are the 10 tribes which were led away captive out of their own land in the days of Hosea the king, which tribe Salmanaser, the king of Assyria, led away captive. He carried them across the river, and thus they were transported into another land. That land is called Ashereth, as we alluded earlier. But they took counsel among themselves that they would leave them unto the heathen and go forth into a land further distance where the human race had never dwelt. What's this place called prior to colonialism? The New World, right? Okay. There at least to keep their statutes which they had not kept in their own land. And they entered by the narrow passage of the river Euphrates, for the Most High then wrought wonders for them, and stayed the springs of the river until they were passed over. And though that country there was a great way to go, a journey of a year and a half, in the region was called Ashereth. There they have dwelt until the last times, and now when they are about to come again, the Most High will again stay the springs of the river, and they may be able to pass over. Okay, Suarez interpreted this to mean that the 10 tribes taken away captives with Salmanaser had escaped to a land called Ashereth. This Ashereth was obviously near America. Right there. Bingo, bingo, bingo. And it reads, and some of the Jews had migrated to it. He supported this conclusion by citing the similarity of the certain Aztec words to Hebrew words, and by claiming both people had similar idolatries. And we're going to gravitate towards this next paragraph. It reads right here, Suarez also introduced the question whether the Indians descend from Canaan, the son of Ham, cursed by Noah, for his father's sin. His opinion on this point was somewhat unclear, since the Indies were people of various sorts. The opinion that they descended from the cursed Canaan can thus be true in a part and not in whole. So this is false, basically. We're going to find out later, though. But the descendants of Ham were widely dispersed, and all the people who came to America were either his descendants or influenced by them. The Canaanite theory for the Indians' origins was not a Jewish origin story. To qualify as a Jewish origin, the progenitors must be members of one of the 12 tribes of Hebrews. There you go. So they're not Hamites. They're children of the Hebrews, right? Predominantly Jeroboam. The designation of all Hebrews as Jews, though technically incorrect, is an ancient device. Most of the Hebrew tribes dispersed after the captivity, and those left were predominantly of the tribe of Judah, as alluded in Hosea and Kings, right? Judah stayed faithful after their older brother Jeroboam messed up, right? Rehoboam stayed close to God. The customs grew of calling the Hebrews Jews. Israel was the generic designation for all the tribes of the Hebrews, okay? So now I'm going to start from right here, which says Diego Duran was much less equivocal in his theorizing, since he said he had not received the revelation from God, which was the only way to determine for certain where the Indians originated. He would not resort to conjecture. He concluded that the Indians must be descended from Jews. Another witness. His opinion was based on the strange ways and customs and the lowly conversation of the natives, their way of life, ceremonies, rites, and superstitions, omen, and hypocrisies. Also, like the Jews, that the Indians themselves must be Jews. Okay? And it reads, Durant found support for his belief in the observation of Indian culture, which he taught match very well with biblical descriptions of the Jews. Unlike Suarez, who used the Apocrypha, Esdras chapter, I believe, 5 or 4, on which the base of his theory, Duran relied on the Bible itself. And it reads right here, in the 9th year of Hosea, the king of Assyria captured Samaria, and he carried the Israelites away to Assyria. Therefore, the Lord was very angry with Israel and removed them out of his sight. None was left but the tribe of Judah only. All right, it's alluded earlier in my reading. Right here it says, Duran's version was somewhat grappled by the use of the abbreviation to refer to what happened to the Israelites after their arrival in Assyria. Apparently, he referred to Esdras' legend from Ezra. As a consequence, his description of the remote land Esdras seems to be reference to Assyria. That's a lie. Evidently, the story was so well known that it did not require elaboration. Duran found additional confirmation in the story of Hosea that God had promised to multiply his people of Israel like the sand of the sea. So they were going to be dispersed everywhere, okay? That's what that means. Surely, he argued, this promise was fulfilled by the multitude of the Spanish found in the New World. You see, when the conquistadors came over here, they found that they were going to be dispersed, and they found people inhabiting this land, okay? This is Edom, Esau, by the way, the conquistadors. Furthermore, he noted the Indians of Mexico had traditions of long journeys, such as the one from Assyria to Asareth. Another connection. They also had traditions of flights, such as the Exodus from Egypt. Other proofs include common traditions of earthquake, which swallowed evil men, and of objects, manna falling from heaven. That's in Exodus, right? Coming out of Egypt. And the part where the ground opened and swallowed evil men, I believe that's in the book of Hosea. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, this is what he was saying, that the indigenous people had stories, like oral stories and depictions showing that, they are the people of the Bible. And the fact that an old Indian had begun his tale of the origins of his people with the words, in the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. So they were speaking this, and he translated that to be that verbatim from Genesis. Okay, this story Duran reported roughly parallel Genesis chapter 1 to 2, 6, and 11. Finally, Duran compared the secret mountain sacrifice legends, pests and plagues and wars and other disasters and child sacrifice and cannibalism. He taught that all of these legends and myths were common to both the Indians and the lost tribe of YASHARALLA. Reading along, at this point, Duran introduced his strongest argument, that which most forces me to believe that these Indians are of Hebrew lineage, is the strange pertinacity they have in not casting away their idolatries and superstitions, living by them as did their ancestors, as David said in Psalms 105 to 106. And it reads, they serve their idols, which became a snare to them, meaning a trap. They sacrificed their sons and their daughters to demons. They poured out innocent blood, the blood of the sons and daughters whom they sacrificed to idols of Canaan. And the land was polluted with blood. Okay. And read it on. It reads, we can probably jump down to Vasquez, because we've got a lot of what Duran said and Suras said. Vasquez also admitted other possible sources for the Indians. Jews fleeing from Sennacherib about 700 BC through West Africa and thence to America. Third witness. And it reads down here, the most reasonable theory seems to be that they're descended from the 10 tribes, especially the tribes of Issachar. Well, is he saying that the Aztecs descend from the tribe of Issachar, or are the tribe of Issachar? Wow, this is big. This is a big exposure right here. And it says this descendant was indicated by many of the custom rites and ceremonies common to the ancient Hebrews and modern Indians. So now I'm going to dissect this book that was written by James Adair, as I previously attributed to earlier in the start of my lecture, as it pertains to the history of the American Indians. So the first argument he's trying to convey and propose to the readers is that as the Israelites were divided into tribes and had chiefs over them, so the Indians divided themselves. Each tribe formed a little community within the nation. And as the nations had its particular symbol, so has each tribe the badge from which it's denominated. So going back to drawing similarities with the Israelites and the Succoth and the Chickasaw tribes, okay? Right? Predominantly Jeroboam. And it reads right here at the bottom, many of the ancient heathens followed the Jewish customs of dividing themselves into tribes or family. The city of Athens was divided into 10 parts and tribes, in which the Greek called, I want to say that's called Pablu, a tribe. And also the East Indian pagans did the same thing. And it says the ancient heathens mimicked a great deal of the Jewish ceremonial law. But these were not heathens, right? These were actual the people, as we're going to prove that further. So I just want you to go right here, start from the third paragraph, and it reads, some of these words are really hard to pronounce because I've never seen them in this type of font, but I'm going to try my best to decipher them. Okay, as we speak, it says, there is no tribe or individual among them, however, called by the name Opifum, which is with the Cherokee and with the Chickasaw and the Succoth Indians. Synonyms with that of a hog. So this word translates to hog, and watch what they say about it. This may be more material than at first appears, as our national histories tell us that the hog is common in other parts of the world. Several of the old Indians affirm us they formerly reckoned it as a filthy, uneatable animal, as a hog. That was given in Leviticus 11, right? The children of Israel were not supposed to eat swine. And we see over here the people of the Chickasaw and the Chickasaw tribe, we're not doing this, right? We're being obedient to the commandments that the Lord Yahweh gave them. And it says, although they confess, and we know by the long observation that from the time our traders settled among them, so this is talking about the conquistadors coming over here, they are every year more corrupt in their morals. This is how the indigenous people, the Chickasaw and the Choctaw tribes, were viewing these people. They're very corrupt in their morals. Okay, not only in this instance of eating an impure animal, so they were eating a pig that these indigenous people deemed unclean, but in many other religious customs of their forefathers. Wow. And at the bottom it says, a creature that had a head like a hog and a tail like a rat's. This is the pig, that little curly tail it has. They deemed this uneatable and very, very abominable. So next we're going to transition to page 17. And I want you to start from where it says, however, right? However, it is a very rare thing to find any of them of a narrow temper. And though they do not keep one, as I said, promiscuous common stock, yet it is to very fame effect. For everyone has his own family or tribe, and when one of them is speaking, either of the individuals or habitations of any of his tribes, he says, he is of my house, or it is my house. Thus, when King David prayed that the divine wrath might only fall on his house, he might mean the tribe of Judah, as well as his own particular family, exclusive to the aggregate body of Israel. And it reads the next part, when the Indians are traveling in their own country, they inquire for a house of their own tribe. So they traveled, with their own house people from their tribe, right? So if they were going to distant destinations, they would acquire somebody from their house to go along with them, just like the ancient Israelites did. That's another similarity that James Adair was trying to convey. So now we have chapter 18, and it reads, we're going to just start from the top part, the highlighted part. It says, every town has a flat house or Sanhedrin, as a Jewish Sanhedrin were. Almost every night the headmen convey about public boonfields, or like parties, or, a host. That's what that word means, basically. Or the townspeople to sing, dance, and rejoice in the divine preference. To sing, dance, and rejoice in the divine preference, as well to be described hereafter. So it's saying as the children of, it's saying as King David, had these type of Sanhedrins, and all the elders gathered and they sang and danced and, did all this feasting. The same way these characteristics can be found in the Chickasaw and the Chickasaw tribes in the New World when the conquistadors came. Okay. And it reads, the blue part: when a warrior dies a natural death, which seldom happens, the war drums, musical instruments, and all kind of are laid aside for that space for 3 days and 3 nights. In this time of mourning for the dead, I have known some of the young sparks to the name of the defaced person's tribe, and once being told it was a raccoon, the genealogical name of the family, one of them scornfully replied, then let us away to another town and share ourselves with who have no reference to weep. Why should we make our hearts weigh heavy for an ugly dead raccoon? But notwithstanding, they are commonly negligent of any other tribe but their own. They regard their own particular lineage descent in as strict a manner as the Hebrew nation. So the same way the Hebrew nation were like racist, in other words, right? When it came to supporting and the adulation for their tribe, it's the same way these indigenous Indians, right, Chickasaw and the Chickasaw tribes did, right? They didn't have that same resentment, or not resentment, excuse me. They didn't have that same lamentation, right? That same desire to lament for somebody else that wasn't from their tribe when the person died. So the next argument, 2, it says, by a strict, permanent, and divine precept, the Hebrew nation were ordered to worship at Jerusalem Jehovah, the true and living name, and who the Indians titled Yahweh. This is from the guy that actually lived amongst these people. He's documenting this in his book, that they called the ancient God, the so-called Europeans, Edomites, tried to call Jehovah, when the letter J was not even invented in Paleo-Hebrew times. He's saying that the native indigenous people called and titled him Yahweh, which means he exists. So they knew who their God was. Okay? And it reads, which the 72 interpreters, either from the ignorance or superstition, have translated Adonai, and is the very same as the Greek signifying Lord or Master. Wow, this is important. Very, very big revelation. And this brings me to the conclusion of page 19. And we're going to just start from the blue. It says, but the Indian Americans paid their religious devout to the great, beneficent, supreme Holy Spirit of fire, who ratifies as they think above the clouds and on earth, also with the unpolluted people. The unpolluted people were the ones that didn't have any sin, right? The children of Israel, predominantly that 1/3. He is with them in the sole author of warm lights and of all the animals and vegetation. He is with them, the sole author of warm lights and of all animals and vegetable life. This is how they believed Yahweh to be. They do not pay the left perceivable adoration to any images or to dead persons, neither to the celestial luminaries, nor evil spirits, nor created being whatsoever. So they were not adoring and reverencing anybody that was not Yahweh. Basically, that's what that's saying. Okay. They utter strangers to all the gestures practiced by the pagans in their religions. They kill. Say kill. They kill no idols, nor if they were placed out of their reach, they will kill their hands in token of reverence and a willing disobedience. So I don't know what that word really says, but in other words, they were not, doing idolatry things. They deemed that very disrespectful towards their God, and they rejected it, in other words. So they didn't have idols. They didn't worship celestial beings or evil spirits, vice versa. So here you have it. This book reveals. It's a kind of strange read, but once you get hang of the terminology, it should start making sense to you. I tried my best to capture some important texts from this, book to present to you in the hopes that it conveyed you that this book was written 65, and is still very relevant today. Okay, and this is the books that aren't going to be taught in the so-called Jewish, federal education system. Yeah, sarcasm if you got it. But anyways, transition now to the archaeological evidence found on the Western Hemisphere prior to colonialization. So the first example is a image or artifact called the Los Luna Decalogue stone. Right? It says this inscription is an abridged version of the Decalogue or Ten Commandments. Where was it found? Carved into the flat face of the large boulder resting on the side of the hidden mountain near Los Lunas, New Mexico, about 35 miles south of Albuquerque, Mexico. So this was found in the States. And here we have Edomite devil standing right next to it, showing you that this is still presently there in today's modern world. And yeah, it's alive and well. Right? This is what they carved, just like we read in the Book of Mormons, right? The stones, the commandments that they brought with them so they don't forget who they are. Okay, and the next, event is a location in New Mexico called Kali Issachar, as we read in the book of, I believe, where it mentions Suras and Vasquez, how they connected that the Aztecs were the people of Issachar. So if you copy, screenshot, and paste this into your search engine, this is a real location in Mexico called Kali Issachar. So now this brings me to the last archaeological evidence titled 800 Ancient Stones with Hebrew Writings in Puerto Rico authenticated. So this shows you that, remember how we read earlier in Dr. K. Sterling's book where it says Columbus was found with his discoveries to the west because he knew that they had a lot of gold and spices, right, in that land. Okay, these ancient rocks embedded inside of them were gold. And also when the conquistadors came over here to Puerto Rico on the Western Hemisphere, yeah, they did a lot of like pillaging and, exploiting for the minerals that these people had. And it was predominantly gold and spice. So it reads, the mysterious origins of the collections of the mysterious statues from Puerto Rico, long ago believed to have been made by Jews from the 10 lost tribes exiled from the land of Israel in ancient times, are now closer to being understood thanks to Israeli technology. So this is a geologist, and I'll have him describe to you guys what he found. This will represent the first concrete evidence we have of pre-colonial animation system in Puerto Rico. It's a new system for the Americas where nothing like this exists.
Y yo creo que
This is a
abonaría
part of
elementos
the growing evidence for
para
what we have
algo
been
que
saying
nosotros
for a long
llevamos
time.
viendo hace tiempo, y es el hecho de que las sociedades indígenas de Puerto
Indigenous
Rico
societies of Puerto
y el
Rico
Caribe
and the Caribbeans
tenían un conocimiento mucho más
were
complejo
far more
del que
complex
nosotros le
than we
habíamos
previously
atribuido
thought.
previamente. O
There
sea,
goes
el
your
hecho de que
will, you
ya ellos
racist
estuvieran
Edomites.
dominando un
Yeah, we
sistema
were more evolved than you
que
guys thought.
estuviera documentando o
Said they were
codificando
able to document and
gráficamente
codify information
información de manera análoga
in a
como
way
nosotros lo
that
hacemos ahora,
analogous to what we
pues
do today. So similar to
demuestra
what
que
we do today. Shows that the arrival of the
el arribo
writing
de la
of the
escritura
Spanish
con los españoles aquí no es la
wasn't
primera
the first time.
instancia
Wow.
donde
Or
sistemas como
systems
ese se
like
estuvieran
that were being
empleando,
implemented.
sino que ya los indígenas
Indigenous groups had already developed
habían
this.
desarrollado esto o se había
It's already
registrado esto en
been
tiempos
registered in
precolombinos
pre-Columbian
en Puerto
times
Rico
in Puerto Rico.
mucho antes de que
And these
llegaran
rocks
aquí
had
para
gold in
Europa.
them, by the way, long before the Spanish invasion. Here you have it, okay? Verbatim. All right. Excellent. This brings me to the next segue of my discussion. And it titles Modern Practice of Ancient Acts that Israelites Continue to Illustrate in the 21st Century. So out of the 3 videos that I'm going to play in sequence, I'll be expounding on each one of them after I have exhibited them and just showing you that this spirit of Jeroboam still lives within, right, the 10 tribes that were scattered in what we know today as the New World in biblical times called Ashereth. So the first video I'd like to play is
my Redeemer. I will sing unto Ahayah, for he is highly exalted.
Awesome. So we see this coalescing name being addressed properly by the indigenous people of this land, right? It's not Jehovah, Adonai, or Yahweh, or it's Yahweh, excuse me. It's Yahweh, by Hashem, YAHAWASHI. And these people knew the tongue which was spoken in because they are the descendants of those people who came over here. They were taught this orally and it was passed down linearly, okay? As alluded to that book I referenced in the beginning titled The History of the American Indians, where you can reference this or, go back in the video and validate this point where it mentioned the God of the universe was known to the Indians as Yahweh. Okay, so the next video I'd like to play is more Israelites expounding on this truth of who they are in the 21st century.
That just go beyond coincidence.
For example, my people's traditional name, the Cherokee's traditional name for ourselves is Anikaduaya, which means the principal people of Yah.
Yeah. And the Cheyenne tribe in the Americas called themselves Tzitza, which means people of the fringes.
Really?
And their cousin tribes, the Shoshone, whose symbol is a rose, we find Shoshana, which is a rose.
Shoshana is a Hebrew word, and if you look at the tribal symbol here, it's the Eastern Shoshone tribe, and in Hebrew, Shoshana means rose, and look, there it is, the rose on their tribal symbol. So I want to share with you guys a story.
At the end of the day, what more evidence do you guys need? The guy just says people of fringes. That's going back to the Torah, right? Numbers 15. Like, this is blatant evidence, empirical, undeniable data. So next, I would like to play you a video that took place, actually. The way this elder described it is exactly how it took place in the events of the Bible. And it just shows how we are supposed to move as Israelite men and conduct ourselves with valor and nobility as David did. Okay.
I want to share with you guys a story that relates to native belief or native way of thinking, as well as from 1 Samuel verse 10 to 11, but it's good to read the whole chapter, and it's from the Old Testament. And it's a story about how Yahweh delivered King Saul into David's hand before he became king. And David had an opportunity to kill Saul in the cave, but instead of killing Saul, what did he do? He went up behind Saul and he cut his robe off as proof that, hey man, I could have killed you. Now listen to this story from this tribe right here, who explains that it's more honorable to do this to your enemy, to touch them, than to kill them. Listen here.
Now see, the warriors of the plains, some of them believed that it was more honorable to touch your enemy rather than to kill him. And that's what they call counting coup. And the reason why they done this is because if you killed your enemy, who would take care of his children? Who would take care of his family? And so they considered that more honorable to say, I could have killed you, but I didn't. I let you go home and be with your family. And that's a big sign of bravery.
All right, Father Yah, I just pray that.
Awesome. So here I'm going to show you guys the biblical reference where this fine gentleman was drawing this conclusion from in 1 Samuel chapter 24, verse 4 to 11. And it reads, And the man of David said unto him, Behold, the day of which the Lord said unto thee, Behold, I will deliver thy enemy into thy hand, and thou mayest do to him as it shall seem good unto thee. Then David arose and cut off the skirt of Saul's robe privily. And it came to pass afterward that David's heart smote him, because he had cut Saul's skirt. And he said unto his man, The Lord forbade that I should do this thing unto my master and the Lord's anointed, to stretch forth my hand against him, seeing he is the anointed of Yahweh. So David stayed his servants with these words, and suffered them not to arise against Saul. But Saul rose up out of the cave and went on his way. David arose afterward and went out of the cave and cried after Saul, saying, My Lord, the king. And when Saul looked behind him, David stooped with his face to the earth and bowed himself. And David said to Saul, Wherefore hearest thou men's words, saying, Behold, David seeks thy hurt. Behold, this day thy eyes have seen how that the Lord had delivered thee today into my hand in the cave, and smote, and some bade me kill thee. But my eye spared thee, and said, I would not put forth my hand against my Lord, for he is the Lord's anointed. Moreover, my father, see the skirt of thy robe. So David is pleading with him, right? Thy robe in my hand, for in that I cut off the skirt of thy robe and killed thee not. Now thou and see that there is neither evil nor transgression in my hand, and I have not sinned against thee, yet thou huntest my soul to take. So this is why David was called, right, the man of the Lord, or this is why David was called the man of God's heart, because he showed mercy when God had delivered Saul, his enemy, into his hand, because Saul desperately wanted to kill David. And if Saul was in that position that was given to David, he wouldn't have showed David mercy. He would have killed him. But because David is a man of Yahweh's heart, just like Yahweh showing mercy to his children Israel after several disobedience and several captivity after captivity. Do you know how many times Israel sinned against their God? Like, it's too many times. You can't even count it on your fingers. But because Yahweh is a merciful God, he's showing us, that mercy, and promised to us salvation through his only begotten son, YAHAWASHI. So, that's his abundance of love that he has for the children of Israel, as alluded earlier in, I believe, I want to say Kings, where he promised not to cut off the remnants of David's seed because he loved them. And God is not a man to lie and change his words, okay? So this brings me to the next segment, which says cause and effect of Israel disobedience in the New World. This is before colonialization. This is a map of the indigenous people that lived over here known as the New World in today's modern terminology, but back in biblical terminology or ancient antiquity, it was known as Asareth. Okay, this is what they're hiding from the so-called Jewish, federal education system. Sarcasm, but they do know who the hell the people were, who the people were living in this land are in 2024, and it's my great honor to reveal this divine prophecy to you Israelites scattered throughout the 12 corners of planet Earth. So we see down here in South America, over there to southwest, Incas, and then Central America, Aztecs and Mayans, and up north, North America today, formerly known as God, which were the so-called Native Americans, right? So now this brings me to the next part, which is the phenotype of indigenous people prior to imperialism. I would like to kick this off with the biblical verse from Hosea chapter 7 verse 8, and it reads, Ephraim has mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned. What happens when you bake a cake and not turn it? One part stays light and the other part stays dark. So now I'm going into the archaeologists' stones that they found prior to the conquistadors coming over here, which are the Olmecs. And it says, who chiseled and carved these monoliths were outright masters of accurate portrayals and did not arrive at the distinctive Negro features accidentally. And it is distinguished them from the features and characteristics of every other race. So you can see right here, right, the full lips, full nose, vice versa. Right, Negro features, so-called African American people. Next, we have the characteristics of their hair. You can see woolly hair, same Negro features, nose, lips, and the stones and artifacts that these people found. And it says right here, reading along, the back of the Olmec head below left shows an Ethiopian braided hairstyle with an African man next to it wearing a similar braided hairstyle. This provides a powerful statement in support of these heads being African in nature, but there are some detectors who argue that other cultures also braided their hair in similar fashion. Therefore, their hair braids do not prove any African ancestry, since they could be from any other African group. That's a damn lie, because the only people that are in the New World were the children of Israel, according to academic scholarship and biblical prophecy. Yes, these people are just butthurt. Okay? All right, so now we go to this image. I would like to start from therefore, the last paragraph. It says, therefore, Native Americans and Black Africans share a common history of massive abuse, genocide, and exploitation by the white man. Common enemy, Edomites, so-called Caucasian race. Native Americans were even called by the same derogatory terms applied to Black people. That's not a coincidence. It's true. It's so ironic. Not to mention the two continents that were stolen from them. Here's an original painting of Black Mohawk Indian and Moorish attire. Okay, there you go. Israelite indeed. All right, we have more phenotypes. I just want you guys to gravitate your mind on the last two pictures at the bottom, left and right. It says on the left is a fake European Montezuma. The real Montezuma of the Aztec Empire was not a white man, but a Black Mexican Moor, as represented in the image on the right. So here we have the real image, okay? Israelite indeed. And here we have the fake image, right? The devil, just like how they did Christ and God and the angels and everybody in biblical antiquity and in history. These people always like to paint over the faces of the judges, and therefore they're going to be judged for this blasphemy, all right? Because they're Satan's children. Only Satan's children will try to rewrite history and change the timeline. But Esau, Edom, you are trapped and your judgment is sealed. There's no running. You can't run from God who created you, you damn degenerate clay. Straight up. All right. So we're gonna transition now to more beautiful pictures of Israelites indeed. As you can see in this picture over here, full lips, full nose, different hair textures. You have to keep in mind, Jacob had 4 wives, and those 4 wives, they might have had different phenotypes, right? We know that David had straight hair, just like a goat, but he comes from the tribe of Judah, but Christ has woolly hair like a sheep. So at the end of the day, hair texture is not a predominant factor to know who was an Israelite, but as it pertains to Southern Kingdom, because they were left isolated after Jeroboam, Northern Kingdom left. They were the only ones mixing with each other, nobody else. So that dominant woolly texture, which is a dominant strand more than straight hair, took over predominantly Judah. But you can see here different types of woolly type, dreadlocks, straight hair. By the way, I don't know why these girls are naked. Probably the European Edomites had them dressed like savages for their own amusement. As you can see, braided hairstyle, Israelite indeed, melanated individuals. Next, we have some more imagery, beautiful women, beautiful ladies. I want to say I don't know if that's a man or I know that's a woman for sure. I don't know, it might be a man. Who knows? I rebuke that spirit. But anyways, you can tell their attire. You can see fringes on the arm sleeve, vice versa. All dark melanated people. Next we have this. It says the head on the right is a Mayan, but notice the clear Negroid appearance of the face, broad, thick lips, and flat nose, even though they were deliberately chiseled out to the face and conceal this fact. Okay, just like the so-called Grecians did in the Egyptian timeline, where they chiseled out Pharaoh's big-ass nose and big-ass forehead on the pyramids of Giza. It's the same way these people defaced the Olmec statues to try to hide the truth of who the children of Israel are in modern-day America. And they're going to pay for this, okay? All the confusion and all the lies and sold. You can see right here, this picture to the right, kind of dreadlocks that they had, right? Showing you that both kingdoms, both Judah and Israel, are the same people. One daddy, 4 mamas, okay? Nothing changed, right? Because we come from the seed of our father, okay? One more thing, fringes right here on the sleeves. You can tell, Israelite indeed. See the woman dressing modestly. Okay. She got the swag, though. Look at the rings, man. Drip. Okay. Also had fringes, I believe so, on her arm sleeves. Next, I'm going to transition into the cause of colonialization. Okay, what allowed the conquistadors to come over here? Because of certain tendencies the Israelites were exhibiting during the time in the New World known as Ashereth. So this is from a movie scene called Apocalypto. I highly suggest and implore the viewers to watch this, okay, movie when you have a chance to. Here we go, the children of Israel, right? Worshipping their deities that David prophesied about in Psalms and also written by the academic scholars. This is exactly why they got the name savages, because they were doing things like this when the Europeans came, because they learned from the heathens that they were scattered around in Syria and in Egypt, as attributed earlier in my text. And this type of action did not make God happy. As we can see, the metamorphosis that they put on their head, animal and human, merge to pay homage to like their witchcraft that they were doing, that made God absolutely abhorrent and disgusted with this action. And henceforth, he sent a way more nefarious and diabolic people known as the Edomites, caveman, Esau, Edom, to conquer these people because of such actions. You know, look at that. That's so sad. My mind bugged out. Wow. That's just horrible. As you can see, the pyramid, type of architecture, geometrical shapes that they had aligned. All this was sun worship, by the way. And obviously Yahweh was absolutely disgusted by this type of behavior. Look at the dead bodies over here and over here to the right. So they were doing this for fun. Wow. Must be terrified. Your own people. Thou shalt not kill. It says that in the commandments. And these people were... And this is why you had something called the Spanish Inquisition. Because of this type of behavior. You see the metamorphosis? All right. So next, we're going to transition into imagery and textbook. All right. Just like how we watched in the video. This is what they were doing for fun. And you can see back here, sun worship. There we go. The biblical reference allude to Judges and Psalms. In Judges chapter 17, verse 6, and reads, in those days there was no king in Israel, but every man did that which was right in his own eyes. What did they do that was right in their own eyes? This type of witchcraft and idolatry, okay, and celestial worship that they were commanded not to do. And at the end of the movie, I believe, spoiler alert, but if you don't want to hear this part, just skip. Apocalypto, he looks across the ocean. I believe this is maybe Atlantic Ocean, and he sees ships coming, right? And we're going to get a more in-depth revelation of who were in these ships, as I alluded earlier, if you caught the gist. Okay. In Psalms 106, verse 36 to 38 says, they served their idols, which became a snare, which means trap to them. They sacrificed their sons and their daughters to demons. They poured out the innocent blood, the blood of their sons and daughters, whom they sacrificed to idols of Canaan, and the land was polluted with blood. What land was polluted with blood? Asareth, the New World, so-called America, because of what they were doing, as we just displayed over here. All right. So after, okay, colonialization, or the after effect of the cause, of this action right here. Prophetic reference, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49 to 52 reads, the Lord will bring a nation against you from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. What nation has this type of symbolism? The European nations, okay? They're the ones that, portray this animal as their like icon, okay? And it says, a nation whose language you would not understand, a nation of fierce countenance, which does not respect the elderly, nor show favor to the young, and they shall eat the increase of your livestock and the produce of your land until you are destroyed. They shall not leave you grain or wine, or new wine or oil, or the increase of your cattle or offspring of your flock until they have destroyed you. They shall besiege you at all your gates until your high and fortified walls, in which you trust, come down throughout all your land, and they shall besiege you at all your gates throughout all your land, which the Lord your God has given you. So this is after colonialization, okay? So we saw where the Gadites were, the so-called Native Americans. Now it's called New Spain, United States, and British North America. The Aztecs and the Mayans, okay? That's called Cuba, British, Honduras, Hispaniola. This is what the conquistadors did. And where the Incas were, Peru, Chile, and vice versa, right? They took over it. As you can see right here, it says Spanish, Portuguese, British, French, Dutch, and United States. There we go. This happened in 1800s. Awesome. This is the effect of this type of wickedness that the Israelites were doing prior to these people coming over here. Yahweh don't play, bro. So this is called the European expansion, as you can see. Right, Israelites indeed, and the conquistadors coming over here on ships. Like, oh, yup. I think this is the flag of Scotland or whatever. But yeah, they were coming over here to do what? Enslave them for their disobedience against God's commandments by killing their fellow Israelites during sun worship. This does not take two and two to put together. It's so common sense. The Bible is very, very easy to understand if you don't listen to the Roman, pagan, unholy, Christian, demonic church. Okay, this is the truth of the Bible that they're trying to hide from us. But it's getting revealed in last days, as alluded in Daniel. We see what they brought with them, so-called pagan Christianity. Wow. Here we have Jesuit priests, right? Indoctrinating the children of Israel, right? Through their disobedience, brought this curse upon themselves. And what were they doing? Here you have it. Pagan witchcraft, brought to you by Edomite devils. This is the fierce nation that God was going to bring, right? Fierce continents. They didn't spare the young. They were going to spoil your vegetation, everything. Israelite indeed. Look at the fringes he's wearing. All right. And the wars they had, the conquistadors and the Israelite men, they pillaged them just like the Bible had alluded. Look at this. He's still sacrificing a baby. Like, what are you doing, man? Trying to pray to your pagan gods after Yahweh has sent these people to ravish you for your disobedience. This is so sad. All right. See, God don't play, man. He's a man of his words. And what did they do to the people who didn't capitulate to this nonsense? They burnt them. They burnt them, man. Look at the Jesuit priests, witchcraft cross. All right. God said this was going to happen to the children of Israel if they didn't, repent. So a video example I would like to address to the viewers will be this from this film titled Killers of a Flower Moon. I highly also recommend you guys watch this too, after understanding the knowledge of who these people were prior to their downfall. Yep, there you go. Miscegenation. Ephraim mixed himself among the people.
That's how you are. I don't know what you said, but it must have been Indian for handsome devil.
Handsome devil, thus says Esau, you the demon the Bible speaks of.
Why did you come here?
To steal. To pillage.
I work with my uncle. You scared of him? Oh, he's a nasty
Devil. Satan.
Their time is over. We got to take back control of our home. I was sent down from Washington, D.C. to see about these murders.
You see, when this system is currently ending, Hollywood is going to start coming out with these truth, telling us what really happened as their current system crumbles down. Just like ancient Rome fell, so is this modern Rome going to fall. By the way, this movie is very interesting. I recommend watch.
Kill these men who killed my family. Did your wife say who she was most afraid of? Don't do something you're going to regret for the rest of your life.
All right. This is a scene from the movie. I believe, I don't know her. The female protagonist, she's trying to, I guess, she's chilling with her homies or whatever, her babes, and she finds these Edomite devil attractive, and that leads ultimately to her demise. But let's watch this real quick. Oh, wait, did you guys peep that right here? Oh, what do we have? What do we have here, guys? What do we have here? Oh, that pagan cross that was brought to you by the Jesuits. The Edomite devils, the Roman pagan Catholic Church. On the Holy Pagan Catholic Church, that is, excuse me. So here we have it. He looks like a snake. Of course he's a snake. It's biblical. Blue-eyed devil. And she does call him a devil in the movie. I find that very ironic. So beautiful, Northern Kingdom sisters. Yes, money is Esau's god. That's what the name Eliphaz means. Gold is my god. All right. And next, we have this scene from a movie that Hollywood also produced. Telling you that they know the truth and they know who the hell you guys are and who we are as the children of YASHARALLA. Uh-oh. And that's the rebelliousness that Israel has, right? Always trying to conform to the ways of the heathen, even when the truth is being revealed to them. They will rather be anybody else but who God called them to be. You're never going to be accepted. So lastly, this brings me to my closing statement. Conditions for restorations and blessings. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 18 in the GNT, it reads, "Remember that as long as heaven and earth last, not the least point nor the smallest detail of the law will be done away with, not until the end of all things." We're not at the end of all things. We're getting closer. So that means the law, everything in the Torah from Genesis all the way to Deuteronomy has to come to fruition. And in Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 1 to 10, this is what it says. This is the law, by the way. "I have now given you a choice between blessings and a curse." Okay, the children of Israel chose a curse because of their disobedience. God sent these nations against them. "When all these things have happened to you, and you are living among the nations where the Lord your God has scattered you, you will remember the choice I gave you. If you and your descendants will turn back to the Lord and with all your heart and obey his commands that I am giving you today, then the Lord your God, Yahweh, will have mercy on you. He will bring you back from the nations where he has scattered you, and he will make you prosperous again." Future prophecy, right? Return of YAHAWASHI, the Son, the Messiah. Even if you are scattered to the farthest corners of the earth, the Lord your God will gather you together and bring you back so that you may again take possession of the land where your ancestors once lived. And he will make you more prosperous and more numerous than your ancestors ever were. The Lord your God will give you and your descendants obedient hearts so that you will love him with all your hearts and you will continue to live in that land. That's the clause, right? Obedience, you get the land. He will turn all these curses against your enemies. All the curses that is in Deuteronomy 28 were going to be reversed towards the heathens who hated you and oppressed you, and you will again obey him and keep all his commandments that I am giving you today. So Israel, you cannot love your enemies, okay, because they hate you, because they've been programmed by Yahweh to do this. The Lord will make you prosperous in all that you do. You will have many children and a lot of livestock, and your fields will produce abundant crops. He will be as glad to make you prosperous as he was to make your ancestors prosperous. But you will have to obey him and keep all his laws that are written in this book of his teachings. You will have to turn to him with all your heart. Jeremiah chapter 23 to 8 reads, Behold, the days are coming, says the Lord, that I will raise to David a branch of righteousness. This is talking about YAHAWASHI, future prophecy. A king shall reign and prosper and execute judgment and righteousness in the earth. In his days, Judah will be saved and Israel will dwell safely. Now, this is his name by which he will be called the Lord of our righteousness. Therefore, behold, the days are coming, said the Lord, that they shall no longer say, as the Lord lives, who brought up the children of Israel from the land of Egypt, but as the Lord lives, who brought up and led the descendants of the house of Israel from the north country. What's the north country? North America. Future prophecy from Ezra chapter 13. And from all the countries where I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. In closing statements, this means that in order for this prophecy to be true and take place, both northern and southern kingdom must be reunited and dwelling together again at their final captivity, also known as the so-called blacks, indigenous, natives, and Hispanics, before the terrible day of the second coming of our Savior, HaMashiach. As a result, all markers are pointing to America, aka Daughter of Babylon 2.0. My supporting images are this: visualizing American population by race. So right here, you see it says Hispanics 18%, American Indians 0.7%, and the blacks 12.2%, right? Showing you that, we make up the so-called minorities of America. And more images to substantiate my point. You can see the 12 tribes of Israel on the western hemisphere, that is, we're scattered through all the four corners of earth, but as it pertains to where we are here, this is who we are. This is the men of the kingdoms, both northern and southern kingdom. We have Judah, right? Negroes, Latinos, and indigenous Seminole Indians as Ephraim, right? Jeroboam. Northern case. This is going to be our emblems when we reunite again, as prophesied in Isaiah chapter 11, verse 13. The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. This is a future prophecy, right? It's going to happen when we come together. We're going to be one year reunited again under our Savior, YAHAWASHI, HaMashiach, okay? And we're going to be ruling this earth in righteousness, okay? As the children of Israel. Because, remember, we split after Solomon. But Christ is coming back to reunite us together, okay? As prophesied by many prophets in the Bible. With that being said, I hope you guys were properly edified. Shabbat Shalom. I love every single one of you guys. And till next time, okay?
That's come out about how the Jews stole the black race's identity, that the lost tribes of Judah were actually all Africans. You didn't hear about this? Black people are actually the Jews, and people like Kyle have taken that from them? Stop talking to me. When the Jews came to America to escape persecution in World War II, they found that blacks were already the underclass in America, so they